mic check there, Steve?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
I wouldn't have had you do it if you was going to do it.
No, I'm enough.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm proud family. Duly noted.
Alex, how long have you been at the EDN?
I don't know, more than 10 years.
Oh, man.
Yeah. First, spent some time where I went through dispatch and also to the rural newspapers. How about you?
You gonna check levels?
7.
We're all
7
good.
years
You're
at
good?
radio?
Okay.
That's great. Yeah, it was a 2-year stint in cop review, but most of it's been
Yeah. I would have been Sorry, I got to move your stuff around, but I got to have a place for this. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to have you here today. I want to recognize and applaud the decision by the Federal Aviation Administration to approve the permit for the Northlink Aviation Project at Ted Stevens International Airport. Last October, I was asked to assist and sort out that permitting process, which we did. This project will develop an e-commerce and express air cargo terminal and will significantly enhance Anchorage's capacity for air cargo traffic and establish the our international airport, as the first port of entry for air cargo entering the United States. When you are talking about more than 1,300 construction jobs to build it and close to 225 permanent year-round jobs, this major airport expansion project is a game changer for Anchorage and Alaska. I am happy that Northlink Aviation worked with the local neighborhoods, including Sand Lake, to obtain buy-in from the community. This new infrastructure will mean the completion of operational hard stands, more aircraft parking, fueling, de-icing, and will increase warehouse and office space for air cargo carriers. As the third busiest air cargo airport in the world, enhancing our capacity to accommodate more air cargo traffic is vital to meeting increased needs. The receipt of the permit from the FAA will allow Northlink, in coordination with Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport and other state of Alaska agencies, to begin construction on the 120-acre plot of land Northlink has leased for 55 years. The plan is to start construction on the air cargo terminal project shortly. Again, this new project will allow Anchorage to be more competitive as a major global cargo hub, help ensure our airport can sustain future cargo volume growth, and result in more efficient turn times for carriers so they can increase their revenue. Another great example of this is the construction at the old Sears building that has been purchased and will become an Amazon facility. Nearly 2 years ago, we signed an NDA with Amazon in support of bringing this project online, and today we can officially confirm that Amazon is coming to Anchorage. Yesterday, I had the distinct honor and privilege to accompany Dr. Ben Carson and his lovely wife Candy to several of Anchorage's private schools. The Carsons were warmly greeted by school administrators and student ambassadors chosen to lead a tour of their campuses. Dr. Carson then addressed the entire school community, sharing his powerful life story, beginning in poverty and a broken home. He was a terrible student with failing grades. In a span of a year and a half, though, he went from the bottom of his class to the top of his class. He attributed the dramatic turnaround to his mother, who, with only a third-grade education herself, prayed for wisdom. She restricted her son's TV viewing and instead assigned them to read 2 library books a week and then write reports for her on them. And what is amazing is she had a third-grade education and couldn't read. She kind of faked it. It was through the power of books that unleashed a world of ideas and possibilities that led Dr. Carson to the discovery that the only person who determines an individual's success or failure in life is that individual themselves. It is well known that his hard work and determination led Dr. Carson to become a world-renowned neurosurgeon who pioneered life-saving surgeries and gave hope to countless families suffering traumatic circumstances. Dr. Carson founded the American Cornerstone Institute. He is on a mission to promote four cornerstones which are enshrined in our founding Declaration of Independence. Those four cornerstones are faith, liberty, community, and life. These ideals are vital to the health and well-being of our nation. He encouraged students to know our history and pursue knowledge. He also emphasized the importance of forming a good character and of simply being kind. I'm sure that Dr. Carson's message will have a lasting impact on the school communities that he visited. I am genuinely grateful to the Carsons for coming to Anchorage. With that, I'd like to go to Trista.
I wanted to ask about the assembly meeting last night where the assembly declined to spend roughly $11 million on the navigation center in East Anchorage. I'm curious your reaction to that.
Well, it's disappointing. We now have, and we will have, no shelter for far too many people this winter. That was the last opportunity. A year ago, that money was appropriated to the tune of $12 million. I think it was in April of 2022. And then that money was appropriated through the facilitated process, and it had to be signed off by 3 people. One of them was the municipal manager, and one was the director of the foundation that held the money, and then the third one was Felix Rivera. So he signed for that money. And then last year, we made a mistake on part of the construction project, one phase of the construction process, and they killed the project, and it hasn't been revived. Last night was their last chance to do that, and they did that. So sheltering is now in the hands of the Assembly and the coalition.
Well, if I could follow up a bit, I was under the impression that the shelter probably wouldn't have been stood up for this winter anyway, and that the city's sheltering plan this year, according to Alexis Johnson, relies more on sort of the converting of hotels and nonprofit buildings. Did you anticipate that the shelter was going to be ready for this winter?
No, I was anticipating it was going to be ready for last winter.
No, I mean, like if the Assembly approved it yesterday.
Well, I don't know which iteration. This target has been changing now for the 2 years I've been here, and so we were supposed to have it for the second half of this most previous winter. So we were told by the people who stood it up that it would take about 120 days to stood it up. We communicated that, I believe, in February. The Assembly kept delaying it, and they delayed it into August. So if you do the math, they were to have approved it last night. 120 days is pushing the end of the year. So that was their plan. We believe their plan was, and I made the decision to cooperate. They says, Mr. Mayor, here, find the money. Look at the budgets to find the money. We knew what they were going to do, and they did it last night and then today. We went in, and it's called scraping. We scraped every last bit of money we could, and we found it to roughly $11 million, and now they're using it for other purposes. But I had to be cooperative, so I did scrape the money. I found that money, and our OMB director did, and now it's being used for other purposes.
If I could just follow up one more. So I know that some of that money is going towards that sort of sheltering plan that's supposed to be stood up this year using sort of hotels and nonprofits. What do you think about using that money towards the cold weather shelter plan that your administration's already been planning to do?
Well, that money is appropriated through, a lot of it, I should say, through our health department, so through Alexis Johnson. for cold weather sheltering. But at the end of the day, you got to have a shelter. That's like a big part of it. Sure. Yeah.
What do you think of the laid on the table proposal last night from the Assembly involving efforts for housing and shelter?
Well, I certainly support the housing options, the hotel conversions. I vetoed one last year, but it was for technical reasons, and I believe it was the Barrett. We have that veto, and I expressed through a Department of Law why. But I've supported everything else, everything our partners are doing. Providence, Catholic Social Services, we're supporting that. We always have. But a focus on housing first, an extreme or an exclusive approach to that's going to fail, because at the end of the day, someone has to enter into housing from somewhere, and it's not just the street. So, I think the largest bill we got last winter was about $34,000 for damage to a hotel, because some people are incapable of just being in a hotel room unsupervised. They need a different kind of place. That's precisely what a shelter does for some people, is it gives them a more open area where they can be supervised, where their behavior can be monitored, and we can get them the help that they need. You just can't take a person who is having deep emotional psychiatric problems on the street and put them in a hotel room. It's not good for them. It's not good for therapeutic outcomes, and it's certainly not good for the building itself. And we have to pay that bill. But many months we were in that $10,000 to $12,000 range, and I think the highest I heard last week in a meeting was we paid $34,000 for damages.
So the proposal is inadequate compared to the Tutor Elmore
Inadequate in volume, are you asking?
on services.
Well, you got to understand, we've done hotel conversions before, and some of them aren't filled. So, but the hotel, if the hotel conversions are done correctly, and they're managed intensively thereafter, I think we get the best therapeutic outcomes possible for the tenants that are in them. If you're just going to do it, say San Francisco does, you have a hotel room, you put someone in, and you don't supervise them, you get what San Francisco now has, which is high-end retailers leaving the city, abandoning some of the most heretofore expensive real estate, retail real estate in the country, if not the world, and they're saying we're not coming back. That's what happens when you don't do things right, and we're making many of the same mistakes.
So our streets look pretty rough. You got campers everywhere. And do you think that the Assembly proposal last night laid on the table one will help alleviate some of that this winter? Will we as drivers see less of that?
Well, there are about 310 units roughly coming online that will help alleviate the 700 to 800 that we have, but we're going to have about 400 unsheltered. We were just one of my staff was just, and this is problematic. It's kind of a if you build it, they will come thing. A gentleman from Oklahoma, and we asked, or he was asked, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "Well, our state agency that deals with homelessness, they look for states that have services, and they said, oh, Anchorage does a good job. They give out hotel rooms, so they gave him an airline ticket here." So yeah, we don't want to do that, because winter comes. It may work in the summer for them, but it doesn't work for the individual in the wintertime.
I'd be curious to get that person's name.
Yeah, I'll talk to the director that spoke to them, and if they can find that person. He was in a camp. So, because there's two sides of that coin. The last interview, you weren't here, but we did the airline ticket thing, and we made an offer. Somehow I think last night on the Assembly, it turns out we're doing concentration camps and deportations. That's Bronson's homeless solution. That's nonsensical. We're not going to compel anyone to leave the state. We're simply providing an opportunity to those people who would like to go somewhere where they are safe and they can maybe take care of themselves.
Is that gonna happen?
What idea?
Sending people away?
It's been going on for a year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not new. Yeah, we've I think the last count I had was 64 people have availed themselves of that thing. We started that in the in a Centennial Campground last year.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm gonna switch the subject, but did you want to ask a question first?
Yeah,
Is it
it's,
gone?
since we don't get off topic. One of the assembly members, I think it was Ms. Brawley, suggested that, if the citizens of Anchorage have an appetite for the 200 Elmore shelter, would your administration consider floating a bond in front of the voters? Is that something you might look at, or are you looking at other solutions for the shelter?
We've presented our solutions for sheltering. You got to understand, I've never been into the homeless housing business. It's only shelter. I think the taxpayer should only go that far. I think the P3s, the public-private partnerships, have the expertise. They know how to do it. I'm willing to partner with them. But at the end of the day, the sheltering, because of the public safety component of it, that first place that EMTs or the police bring someone when they're in need, when they're cold, that first place I think does need to be controlled or have a bit of control by government. That's us. Beyond that, so I've never advocated for anything other than sheltering. And it somehow it gets construed that I'm in the homeless business. I'm not, and I don't think the taxpayer should be either.
Now that the assembly's moved last night, what's your next steps to keep this alive?
Keep what alive?
The 200 Elmore shelter.
It's dead.
It's dead in the water.
They killed it.
Yeah.
They made a motion to reconsider, and that's what that means.
Do you wish you had stayed for the vote because you went to that Anchorage woman's?
I was there for the vote.
Oh, you were there for.
I was upstairs watching the thing with my staff.
So you were not at the Anchorage woman's.
I was at many things yesterday with Dr. Ben Carson, but from the first couple minutes of debate to the end of the meeting, I was there.
You just weren't, in the
I wasn't in my seat. No, I was upstairs. We have a great big monitor, and we've got several people up there watching all of it and doing research. One thing that, quite frankly, someone mentioned from the dais, I think it was Assemblywoman Wrong, is she says, "Well, just on my own, not being a realtor, I found 3 warehouses we can buy at a lower price." And I'm sitting there with my staff who actually does real estate, and they're going, "We have no idea what properties she is talking about." So, sometimes, the facts matter here.
But now that this is dead, is there any other solutions you guys maybe are brainstorming for another shelter or different location like that?
We're waiting on the Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness and the Assembly to come up with their solutions. They control the money, and that's a good thing. You want the legislative bodies in any form of our government to control the purse strings. That's important. But they do control the purse strings, and they've made their decision. We can't do anything without money. So sheltering is in their hands.
Considering how that vote went, do you wish you had been in the chamber so maybe they could have asked you questions and maybe you could have responded to things that maybe you didn't like?
On a 9-3, it's not going to matter. So I made a decision not to be in there. I thought it would be better if I wasn't, because maybe they could have a more free debate amongst themselves. I was condemned for not being in the room. I'm upstairs watching. I don't know what they want. It wouldn't have changed the outcome. And
Yeah, so in regards to the Northland Aviation Project.
Right.
That's been going on for a while. There's still a lot of residents or people in the Sand Lake area, in the neighborhoods nearby, who are concerned about air pollution, noise pollution,
Right.
the icing of the plane, stuff like that. Is
P-
there anything that you would say to them, or anything that your administration plans to do to alleviate any of the big projects?
Well, remember that's a state project. We had some of the permitting things. That's what we helped with was getting that going. That's a key a key economic driver, more than 1,300 construction jobs. Um, that's really important. And then over 200 permanent jobs. That site was too important to disregard, but the public process will get us to the end answer on this. But right now, I'm very encouraged. I think it's a great process, but or a great project, and we'll continue to work our way through the process. Great, and thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.